I'm saying you are now generating solutions that are entirely within your control. And you can decide not to do any of them and keep thinking up creative solutions and talking to people that you trust for creative solutions. Or you can pick one of them and try it out. But notice, suddenly, you are now in the driver's seat of your life.
Hey, this is Dr. Kavita's son. Welcome to the Emotional Mastery Podcast. This podcast is about emotions, psychology, and relationships. Every week, I'll be sharing real-life tools to help you build self-awareness, a better relationship with yourself, and more fulfilling relationships with the people that matter to you. Listen, this is the foundation on which the rest of your life is built. So let's take the time to get it right. I'll see you on the inside.
Well, hello, everybody, my friends. How are you doing? Happy Thursday. Woohoo. Guess what? I'm recording this in New York City. I'm sitting at my hotel in Queens, and it's about 6 o'clock in the evening. This is beautiful sunset. Just this magnificent orange, purple, light green, light yellow, and dark blue all mixed together. Late evening sunset settling over the Queensboro, and it is so beautiful. I wish I could just take a picture right now and send it to each of your phones. So what's happening? In our world, things have been busy and lots of new changes. We're in California right now. We're going to go back to Connecticut in a couple months. We just bought our house in Connecticut. We had sold the one that we used to live in before we came to California. So now we have a place to live when we go back to Connecticut, which is good news because my daughter was saying, "Uh-oh, Dada, will we have to live in our car?" And that sort of was a sad question because we have seen more so in California. It might just be that we happen to drive along certain streets more here than in Connecticut. I'm not sure, but we've just seen a lot more people living out of their vans or SUVs or cars here. And so it's prompted a lot of questions and conversations with our 5-year-old. Anyway, I wanted to share something with you guys today that has come up a lot in my conversations with my clients. And that is, how do we get to the root cause of something, right? How do we figure out what is actually underlying our difficult emotions or discomfort or angst or sense that we're off or sense that we feel empty, right? Any of those things, what's at the bottom of it? It could be many things, right? And it's hard to really pinpoint. And at the same time, we can use the method I'm going to be sharing with you guys to ask more growth-oriented questions, like what would it take to make me happy? What do I want? Right? Which can also feel very vague and overwhelming and can have 1,000 directions. And I think the method, I've tried many different methods, but the one that I've always returned to it's called a 5 whys method, WHY. And it was supposedly pioneered at Toyota, the Japanese car manufacturer. And they sort of came up with this, from what I understand, as a way to do root cause analysis, right? So if a mistake had happened or something been overlooked, they would then do a root cause analysis starting with what they knew. So for example, the bolt fell off, right? And then they would start this process from that. What we know right now is that the bolt didn't make it onto that part of the machinery when it should have. That's all we know right now. And they start there, and then they do this process that I'm going to be sharing with you guys that I found really helpful, and I've taught to my clients, and they have found really helpful over and over. So it's called the 5 whys method. And really, what it is you start with what you know, and then you ask yourself, why? Why did that happen? Right? Why do I feel that? Let's say you're starting with a feeling, right? I feel tired and irritable. Okay, why do I feel tired and irritable today? Maybe it's because I had too much caffeine, is the answer that, let's say, that it comes up in your head. I had too much caffeine this morning. Why? Right? That's the second why. Why have I had so much caffeine this morning? Why have I had so much caffeine as to make me jumpy and irritable today? And maybe you come up with, because I didn't sleep well and I'm feeling tired. And then you ask the next why. Why? Why didn't I sleep well? Why did I wake up tired? Right? And maybe your answer is, I don't know, I was on call, let's say, right? If you're a physician or anyone who is on call for work in some capacity. I know even computer engineers, many of my cousins and friends and relatives are computer engineers, and they often work late at night because of the time difference of where their client is at. So their client might be in India and they're in the US, or my family member is in India and their client is in Europe. So because of those time differences, they end up having to work in the middle of the night, right? So for whatever reason, maybe you say, I was on call last night. Okay. And so that might stop your why, because you've gotten to the foundational issue, right? Whenever you're on call, it depends on how call goes, and some nights are busier than others, and you wake up groggy, and then you have too much caffeine, then you're jumpy and irritable the next day. Got you, right? Now you get to ask yourself, what do I want to do about that? And you get to decide, right? When we get to that part of it, a lot of times people will make the mistake of making the solution about somebody else, right? So, for example, you might say in this example of being on call, one of my clients might say, oh, the solution is for my boss to not give me so many overnight calls. Now, this is not a very smart solution thinking strategy because it's entirely reliant on other people, and it absolves you of your ownership and responsibility to take direction of your own life, right? It's kind of like, well, it's up to my boss. If my boss doesn't do X, Y, and Z, then I just will have to spend every fourth morning cranky and irritable, and that's how it's going to be, right? It keeps you stuck. So, a better way to frame that solution might be, I want to look for a job that has not more than once in 2 weeks overnight call, let's say. I want a job that has that sort of schedule. Now you have a more workable and empowering line of thinking, because now you're thinking about, okay, maybe I can ask that of my boss. What can I offer to my boss to make that worth it for me? Maybe I can go part-time into management that would make this, right? There are so many. Maybe I can move to the place where my biggest client is, right? So that the time zones are more in sync. I'm not saying you would do that or should do that. I'm saying you are now generating solutions that are entirely within your control. And you can decide not to do any of them and keep thinking up creative solutions and talking to people that you trust for creative solutions. Or you can pick one of them and try it out. But notice, suddenly You are now in the driver's seat of your life, right? So the same method, like I said, can be used for things like, why am I feeling off, right? Let's say you've been feeling angry and you found yourself snapping at random people, right? Maybe you're snapping at your children, you're angry when you're driving if someone cuts you off, and you're angry at your front desk person when they double book you, right? Obviously, all of these things can make anyone feel annoyed, but you are noticing that you seem to be more snippy and irritable and quick to say or pass biting judgments or remarks than you typically are. And it's bothering you, right? Let's say this has been happening for a few weeks. Now, you could use the 5 whys by starting with, why am I feeling so angry and snippy and overwhelmed, right? And you may come up with, I have been, I don't know, working long hours and then going home and mostly single parenting over the last month or two. Why is that? Oh, because my spouse has been traveling for work more in the last couple of months, or my spouse is, I don't know, taking care of a sick relative. And so I'm finding myself more single parenting. Or maybe because my spouse gets angry with the children. And so to prevent the kids being exposed to that, I jump in and overfunction and take care of everything for the kids, right? Whatever it is, you will put down the thing that is happening for you. And then you ask yourself why, until you get to, and it usually happens around fifth, sixth, or seventh why. In the Toyota model, they called it the 5 whys model. But personally, I found that sometimes you get the answer in 5 iterations of why, but sometimes it can take much longer. I've had to, in some problems, get to 12 or 13 before I'm like, whoa, yes, that is the thing. That is really at the root of this. And you'll know because you'll have a sort of a physical reaction, like your body will feel like, yes, this is the thing, right? And you'll also know when you notice that you are talking about what you can do or what you need rather than what someone else should do or how a situation should change. Because if you are still in that layer, you need to go deeper, right? Because you're still absolving yourself of the responsibility of your own life. So you can use this, like I said, with problems. You can use this with feelings. You can use this also with aspirations, right? What would it take to make me happy? And start with what comes up. Maybe your first answer is, I don't know, to get $1 million, right? Doesn't matter. Whatever comes up, just put it there. Don't think about it, or analyze it, or try to come up with the morally or ethically or socially better sounding answer. Just come up with whatever comes to your mind. So let's say you say, I would feel better and happier if I had $1 million. Why? Right? Then you might say, because then I could work part time. Why is that important? Because I don't really like my job. Why? See where this is going? You're getting to the root cause of why you're dreaming about getting $1 million or winning the lottery. What is it that is not working in your life that you are trying to swallow or ignore or put up with or rationalize, that is then having you just daydream about someone or something or the lottery or some such way to alleviate the suffering that you're in? So you keep asking yourself, what is it that would make me happy? And why? And you'll get to the thing that you need to shift in your life to get that feeling now. Okay. I'm not saying it'll be easy to make that shift. It may be having a difficult conversation that you've been putting off. It may be starting to think about a different line of work. It may be to get in shape, right? I'm not saying it will be easy, but it will be the center thing so that you don't spend a lot of time in your life with abstractions and noise and instead get straight to the root of the issue, right? So that's what I wanted to share for today, the 5 whys and the 3 ways you can use the 5 whys. I would love to know from you, number 1, what did you get from this episode? Okay, what was your biggest aha moment just from listening to the episode? And then number 2, how do you plan or intend to use the 5 whys? What are you going to use it for? It doesn't matter whether, you get a huge breakthrough or you have to try it a few times. Right now, what is one issue that you can imagine trying this method out with? I'd love to know the answer to those 2 questions. If you have the time, please email us at drsunteam@gmail.com. DRSUNTEAM, all one word, drsunteam@gmail.com. Send us your answers. Number 1, what did you get from this episode? What's your biggest aha moment? Number 2, on which problem do you intend or can you imagine using the 5 whys for? I'd love to hear from you. Take care. Have a great week.
Hey, if you enjoy listening to this podcast, I have a favor to ask. Would you rate and review the show? You may not know this, but ratings and reviews are the quickest way to get the word out so more people can find this show, learn these tools, and maybe get the relief and clarity they're needing. It takes 2 minutes and it would mean the world to me. Thank you.